Hey guys, so today's video is going to be hooking up this garage heater in the new garage. Hopefully this is the size good enough. This is 5,000 watts, 17,065 BTU. This garage is 24 by 26, about an 8-foot ceiling, drywall with insulation on top. So that's a major help there. It's concrete floor, and so hopefully it sizes it right. If I calculate it right, this is right in the middle of what's recommended for the BTU range for a garage this size. So hopefully it'll do fine. Anything's gonna be a big help right now. It's pretty cold in here right now. Right now I still have the old breaker box up. But the previous video you've seen the changing the breaker box out. So I'm going a temporary hookup just to get it going right now. But on this video you will see it hooked up to the new breaker box. That way the video is complete. But we're gonna go ahead and mount it and run the wire and get some heat going on in there. So I figured I'd take you guys on the journey of setting this up, and hopefully soon we can get some workbenches built, because I'm tired of using the washer and dryer for a workbench, and I don't like doing that, but I don't have much choice to do that or the floor right now. So let's get this unboxed and look at everything it comes with, and we'll go from there. So it's pretty straightforward. You just have this U-shaped bracket that goes like this, and it mounts from your knobs right here. It did come with these pretty good size lag bolts. They're hopefully long enough to go through the drywall and into the framing. If not, we'll just get some longer ones to throw in it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is mount the bracket. The way this garage is, you can actually see the framing through the drywall. This will be one stud here, like that. So, or ceiling joist rather. So that's what we got to work with. So, let's get that mounted. And obviously, you're gonna be wanting to, measure everything and center everything. But we're just gonna pretty much eye with the cinder blocks. I pretty much know where I'm putting. I'm putting in between these two lights, because this light will be coming down eventually. This one that's over here. There'll be another one put up about where this one's at, so I think it'll be a good spot, so it won't interfere with overhead lights. There may be one put back up there later if it needs to. Okay, we got some much longer screws. That should definitely grab pretty good. Will hold it. Now I'm going to take all the knobs off the heater. This would be actually best if you had two people with two ladders, that way one person can help hold the unit while you're putting the knobs in it. Make things safer and easier. The good thing is this one don't weigh too much. That might be a bigger issue with some of the bigger ones. This one weighs like 20 pounds, so it's not that heavy at all. Just awkward. There's nothing to really hold on to. You just gotta be careful and pay attention. I say that, but you probably watch me drop it here in a minute. Okay, so you pretty much see how this mounts. You got one knob that goes in here, and you got two small ones at the top that allows you to tilt it. This is the setting I went with. It's set in the middle. It looks like about the right angle, and these louvers are actually movable too, so you can get the air positioned in the direction you want. This seems pretty stout. That's the bracket itself flexing. Now we need to talk about the wiring methods. There's about 4 different ways to wire this up, and it's a 220 heater. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but there's 4 different types of wire that you can use with it. It has to be number 10 gauge, but it draws 20.9 amps, so you need to put it on a 30 amp breaker. I think it would kick a 20 amp breaker if you would try to run it on that, so I wouldn't recommend trying that. It also has 3 heat settings, 5,000 watts being the most, and here's the amperage that it uses too. So You know, if you are going to use it, like say on 4,000 watts, you could get by on a 20 amp circuit. Just remember, never to turn it on to 5,000 watt or it will heat your wires up and kick the breaker. Okay, so the preferred way, if you're doing this in new construction, you're going to want to use like a flexible conduit in between the heater and your ceiling. Have like a junction box to tie in the regular wire. And the paper shows two other methods. N/M cable is non-metallic cable, which is what we're using. So it is listed in the book that you can use it this way. It's just not recommended because since this is going to be so high to the ceiling, it probably wouldn't be no concern. But the problem is you're not supposed to have any type of Romex like running through the air or something. But we're going to mount it to the bracket too, just to support. We're running some zip ties on it. The other way is armored cable, or MC cable, or BX cable. That's probably a really good method of doing it. You could actually run that all the way to the breaker box if you wanted to. And the fourth method, which I don't have an example to show you, would be to run a power cable or Carroll cable. Just to avoid confusion, it's nicknamed Carroll cable because that's a trade name for it. This is actually Southman, so it's not Carroll, but it's just like a trade name for it. But you can connect this to a plug, a 220 plug, and have a receptacle, and just have it set up like that. Because if it's going to be inspected, that'd be a good way to avoid any problems at all. Because they can only inspect to the receptacle. The inspector's not going to inspect an appliance that's plugged in, you know. So that's the 4 ways of doing it. We're going with probably the least recommended way, but it's just more convenient and it's what we have to work with. And if we ever have an issue, we will upgrade it to something else. But for right now, that's what we're doing, just to keep things simple. Every installation is going to be slightly different, but in this case, we're going to be drilling a hole up through the drywall close to the block as possible and running the cable over. And I have the tray removed because I'm in the process of changing breaker boxes, which on the video you will see the new breaker box with this wire too, but we're going to run it down through here, and that's where we're going to stop at on the video, because I'm not going to show wiring up to this box. It'll be the new box. So this video is being made in between making that video, so sorry about the confusion on that. So now we'll go ahead and drill a hole where I want the wire to come out, and then get up in the attic and run the wire down to it. Then we'll show the wiring on it. We'll probably tilt this around just to get a better angle on it. And this is the wire we'll be using. This is a 10 gauge, 10-2 with ground. You got a black, white, and a bare. Just be sure to mark your white wire red or some other color just to identify that it's not a neutral, because white is the standard for neutral or grounded. And so that's one thing you have to worry about. This is not going to be hooked up with a neutral. The code's not going to require a neutral ran to something like this, and you can. It's just overkill, and the wire's just going to be tied off anyway, so there's no place to hook it. Okay, so I got the wire ran through the attic and down to the breaker box. Okay, now off camera, I'm going to remove all the screws from the bottom panel, and we'll look at the wiring here in just a second. So this is on the bottom panel. It's pretty straightforward, really. You got L1 and L2, which is your white and black in this case. Should be black and red. It's your color coding your wires. Then your ground. There'll be a ground terminal there. And this talks about the amperage, the maximum fuse size, and minimum wire size. But there's no way to hook up an external thermostat because it's kind of built in on the switch. So you'd have to hook up some type of contactor or relay in order to do that, which it can be done. You just have to add something else to it. So you see there's those 2 knockouts I was talking about. You would knock one of those out and put that clamp in there. L1 and L2. That'll be where your 220 or 240 hooks to it. And your ground wire will hook right here. So now I want to wire this up off camera just to speed the video up, and then we'll look at it. It'll make more sense than me trying to do it on camera. Okay, so there's the wiring. You see the ground is attached to that screw right there. I got the white wire marked red for one of the positives. And you can see the black coming on L1. That's pretty much it. It does have a little zip tie there to help hold the wire, and that'd be handy if you're using more flexible wire than solid strand like this. So that's pretty much the wiring. So let me go ahead and put the cover back on. Then you'll see the wiring to the breaker box. Okay, everything's wired. I still need to tie this up a little bit better than this and staple it in the attic. I'm gonna get ready to kick the breaker on. I got the switch set for 5,000 watts and it's on the low setting, so we're just gonna see what happens when I flip the breaker. I'm curious to see how loud it is. Not too loud. I feel warm air. Slowly warming up. I smell the factory oil stuff burning off of it, which is perfectly normal. You may even see a little bit of smoke when you first turn something on like this. Well guys, it works. When that time will tell how well it does in here. And alright guys, so next thing you're going to see is wiring up to the new breaker box. I just wanted to test it on the old one just to make sure everything's going to work. Appears to be working great. Okay guys, so this is the wire from the heater. This is the new breaker box. If you need to see more information about changing this panel out, look at the video on that. This is 10-2 with ground. It's coming in up here at the top with a clamp similar to this to clamp the wire. We'll look at it here in a second. Now we'll go ahead and strip the insulation off of this. If you don't have one of these tools, pick up one. It's the handiest thing ever. I'm going to get all this and get the paper off the bare ground wire. Just snip this up here like that. Now remember, the white is the hot wire in this case, and so is the black, because we don't have an actual neutral. So your bare ground wire is going to come over here and tie in on the grounding bus bar. And it's going to go in right here on the terminal block. You want to push it out so you can see it. I like using the square drive on this. And I'm also doing this with the power off on this main panel, so there's no possible way of getting shocked or anything, because your bus bars are going to be hot with the power on. So now you're ready to hook up your breaker. And I'll just eye it. I pretty much just know where the wires are going to end up at. And you don't want to strip off too much. You just need approximately about a 1/2 inch, and that'll be just fine for your breaker. This is a GE breaker box. All breakers go in similar. They're just made slightly different. You always get it hooked on that side and just snap in like that. And that's pretty much it. Some people get into practice of connecting the wires first, then on the breaker, then putting the breaker in. And it's fine if you want to do it like that. Okay, and since we marked the white wire red on the other end of the heater, we're going to do the same here, just so we know that this is actually a hot wire. You have to loosen the terminals. And again, make sure your breaker's off, especially if your power's on. If your breaker's on and your power's on, this screwdriver's going to be hot too, so you gotta just pay attention to everything that you're doing. When I do these panels, I like to use the square drive. It just seems like a much easier way of doing things. Make sure the wire goes in all the way. Get it pretty snug. And the same to it. And there is torque specs on this that you should follow, but most people don't. And just do it as you feel necessary. So that's pretty much the wiring on this. So if you got any questions or comments about this type of heater and the wiring on it, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you sticking through all this renovation of this garage, and look forward to a lot more videos this summer. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.